والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Here's my phone. Last time we stopped by verse number 21. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا. يلا مش مهندس. آسف 22. فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا.
وجاء المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط
رطبا
جنيا.
نعم.
فكلي واشربي وقري عينا.
وقري عينا.
فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا
فريا. أيوة ولدان الله يسعدك يا باشمهندس. يلا يحفظ.
يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى ابن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون ما كان لله أن يتخذ من ولد سبحانه إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون وإن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم فاختلف الأحزاب من بينهم فويل للذين كفروا من مشهد يوم عظيم.
الله يفتح عليك يا حفظ. أيام from the beginning please.
فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا
تحميل.
يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك
بغية. Were you here last week? Huh? بغية. Yes, it's not, you pronounce the line very heavily. We said, just as a quick reminder, so we had those letters, the letters of heaviness, so to speak, al-kha, wal-sad, wal-dad, wal-ghay, wal-ta, wal-qaf, wal-da. They are all letters of heaviness. They get pronounced with a sense of heaviness. They are not light. They are not light letters. But they are not all at the same level. You know, sometimes they are, when they are in a specific position, they get more heaviness than in other positions. We said the highest level is, what is it? When the letter has fatha on it, it's followed by an alif. That's the highest level. Good. The second, when the letter has fatha on it, kha. The third one, when the letter has dhamma on it, any of those letters. The fourth one is when it has a sukun on it. The fifth one, when it has a kasra underneath. The sixth one, which is really the lowest one, it has a kasra underneath and is followed by a ya. Right? In this case, what is this level? What is the level of? Huh? Exactly, the lowest one. Baghiya. Yes, yeah, Mika. That would be in the same level. The third level. Okay. سوء. من كان. Yes. في المهد. نعم. وبرا بوالدتي. Where did you get this meme from? Wonderful. What is the ruling here? Do you remember? You weren't. Okay, just as a quick reminder, We haven't? Oh, صحيح. خلاص. Let's do that. How many letters do we have in Arabic? 25. MashaAllah. That's when you know that someone has spent too much time in the UK. They forgot the original Arabic alphabet. Okay. We have 28 letters in Arabic. The Noon as-Sakina or Tanween is probably the most famous rule in Tajweed. And Noon as-Sakina, there is this one. The Noon that has a sukoon on it. The Noon sound. Right? This is called Noon Sakina. Sakin means it's a silent letter, it doesn't have any vowels on it. The vowels that we have in Arabic, what are those vowels? Fatha, Kasra, Dhamma. This is the Nun Sakina, it doesn't have any of those three vowels. At-Tanween, it's literally the doubling of any of those three vowels. If it's either two fathas or two dhammas or two kasras. Sama'an, sama'un, sama'in. So it is represented in this sort of nasal sound of the noon. This is called tanween. Okay? Much of the Quran is when it comes to tajweed is to do with this. We have 28 letters. Whenever they happen after any of those two letters, so to speak, the certain rulings apply. The first one, the first one that applies here is called al-idhar. Al-idhar can be translated as, the pronouncement of something. When you pronounce something clearly, you can tell from as the Arabic word itself suggests. You pronounce the word very clearly. And this happens when either of those is followed by one of 6 letters. Either the al-hamza, or al-ha, al-ayn, al-ha, al-ghayn, al-kha. So if you have the noon followed by the hamza, ha, ayn, ha, either of those, you pronounce the noon very clearly. That's called idhar. Can we identify examples or find, locate examples in the passage that we just recited? Cases of idhar. A noon or tanween followed by either of those letters. Insiya. By the sin. Is sin one of the letters here? After. Now. Mubarakan Aina. That's a good example. MashaAllah, great minds. Mubarakan Aina. So, you have the tanween followed by a hamza. We've pronounced the tanween very clearly. clear pronunciation. Mubarakan ayna. That is called idhar. Mubarakan ayna. Any other examples? We don't have any other examples. Okay. The second one is called idgham. Al-idgham can be translated as, assimilation, مثلا. Where you literally change the noon into, you literally assimilate the noon into the next letter. You merge it, simply. And we have 6 letters where we do this. Al-ya, wal-ra, wal-mim, wal-lam, wal-waw, wal-noon. You will have many examples, I guess. Let's have a look. An-nakhla. Oh, that could be a difficult one. You find me examples, please. Na? Nasiyam mansiya. Well done. Nasiya mansiya. What happens here? Nasiyam mansiya. As if it's written in this way. So the tanween is changed into a meme. Nasiyam mansiya. It wouldn't be written in the Quran this way, of course. It's more of a sound thing. Other examples? Shay'an fariyayya. 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 So we have the tanween here is being merged into this ya. Fariyayya. Can we find an example for the noon? Noon sakina? Noon tanween? An example with noon. أن يتخذ. Well done. أن يتخذ. So what is happening here? As if I am saying أن يتخذ. The noon is gone. It gets literally assimilated into or merged into the next letter. Right? There is a tanween with ghunna and بغير ghunna. Maybe we can keep those. I don't want to confuse you with this. So what happens with those letters? The noon gets changed into those letters themselves. It gets lost. That is al-idgham. And then we have al-ikhfa. Al-ikhfa is literally, okay, you may translate it as concealment. When you hide something, or when you conceal something into something else. Okay? It's somewhere in between those. With idhar, you pronounce the 2 letters very clearly, as if nothing is there. With idgham, the noon goes away completely. With ikhfa, it's in the middle. So it's a partial idgham. And this is literally the rest of the letters. You're talking about, we will have, there is one more, with the exception of uh, with the exception of the ba, the rest of the letters are to do with ikhfa. 14 letters are ones of concealment. So what is happening here is that you don't pronounce it in the way you pronounce adhar, nor do you pronounce it in the way you pronounce adhar, somewhere in between. And that's where many people would, make many mistakes. It's not easy. It takes a lot of practice. Examples. Can you find me examples? وَكُنْتُ. The noon is sakina. Yes. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Followed by a ta. And the ta is one of the letters of ikhfa. So how do we pronounce that? Kuntu. I did not say kuntu in the way I would pronounce al-idhar. I did not pronounce the noon fully, but I did not take it out completely. I did not say kuntu. Even though we Egyptians we say kuntu. The tajweed wise that's not right. So it is. I think it's very common في الصعيد. كنت تعمل كذا. نعم. نعم. وفي ناس فقهاء. Okay, interesting. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. I think I've changed. I've been here for 10 years. I don't know this way anymore. I even forgot how it gets pronounced. Well, alhamdulillah, at least I still remember the letters. And then we have the last one is the. Can you give me other examples of ikhfa? Other examples of ikhfa. Man kana. Good. فانتبذت, indeed. Did you get the logic of it? Because some people they don't even know the relation between those, the idhar, the ikhfa, and the idgham. It's simply like that. Idhar is very clear, idgham is completely merged, ikhfa is in the middle. And then we have the last one, that is al-iqlab. Al-iqlab is literally when the noon or the tanween are followed by a ba. In which case, the noon would get changed into a ba. Amim, into amim. The noon would get changed into amim. That is often called conversion. The noon gets converted into amim. Barram biwalidati. Barram biwalidati. What happens here? This tanween got converted into amim. It's become like barram biwalidati. Again, there is a bit of a controversy these days. It's one of the key scholars of Tajweed. In Egypt, we've always been told, we have masters of Tajweed in the last 200 years many of them were in Egypt. So the way they pronounce this, they would say, it's not, you don't fully, get the two lips to touch each other as you pronounce. You don't say barram biwalidati. You rather say barram biwalidati. You leave a little bit of a gap, very tiny gap between the two lips. They say this is how we received it. Right? One of the major scholars of Tajweed in Syria, Sheikh Ayman Zweed, a scholar that I have much respect for, actually says this is baseless. says what happens is a complete merging, complete conversion of the tanween or the nun sakina into a meme, complete one, as barram biwalidati. Let us have نسمع مثلا الشيخ الحصري. A good example would be لينبذن كلا لا سورة الهمزة كلا لا ينبذن في الحطمة. Okay? Al-Husri is probably the giant of Tajweed in the whole Islamic tradition. Undisputed. Open your ears, please. Yeah? Okay, that's true.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة.
You see, the Shaykh did not fully convert the noon into Aba. Did you realize this? Exactly. La yunbadanna. No complete conversion as such. How? That's most of the Egyptian reciters would recite it this way. They say, we received it this way, pronounce it this way. Sheikh Ayman says, there is no, his rationale for it is not the strongest one. But just in case you come across this. He says this would be pronounced this way. I feel more inclined, of course, to Sheikh Hasari's way of doing it. Yeah.
In the same way, so
Yes. Let's see Shaw.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة.
Same thing. نسمع مثلا عبد الباسط.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة.
Same thing. The maestro, we call him Mustafa Ismail. Not very known, but he's a top tier.
Your personal car choose the auto circuit already done for you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة.
Right? One final one. Because these are the 5 authorities they call Albania.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة.
بالضبط بالضبط. هذا هو. That's the thing. That has been the most dominant way of doing it. Again, until Sheikh Ayman came up with this, and he's a heavyweight scholar. And today there are people who decide this way. Sometimes I do myself, but I naturally incline towards what I've been educated to, yeah, according to. That is iqlab, conversion. So we have pronouncement, concealment, assimilation, and conversion. Idhar happens with 6 letters: Hamza, Ha, Ain, Ha, Ghain, Kha. Idgham with 6 other letters: Ya, Ra, Mim, Lam, Waw, Noon. Ikhfa with 14 other letters. And iqlab happens with 1 letter, that is Ba. Here it gets converted into a Mim. Here it's somewhere in between the Idhar and the Idgham. Here, very clear, Idgham. The Noon gets assimilated to the following 6 letters. These are the most general foundations about those. There are subtleties here and there, but I wouldn't want to confuse you with those. Okay? Now, what's reciting? يوم ولدت. You say ولدت, صح? It's ولدت. It's wow. No.
يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى ابن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون ما كان لله أن يتخذ من ولد سبحانه إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون وإن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم.
Well done, well done. Now, كن فيكون. لا, كن فيكون. هذا بيكون هذا إخفاء, صح? كن فيكون. Well, you have to do this sort of غنة on it when you come to pronounce it. كن فيكون. Like literally 1 second. كن فيكون. نعم. ميكائيل. نعم. Literally 1 second. 1 second means 2 counts in terms of tajweed. 2 maddas, yeah. They normally take 1 second. Yani if you come across someone who says kum fayakun, that's wrong. It has to be like literally 1 second. Kum fayakun. These things are very technical, as in one has to, it takes a bit of time for you to really master this, as in to master it becomes part of how you pronounce them naturally. It becomes part of who you are. It becomes tabi'i, naturally. Otherwise, in the beginning, what happens is, it's artificial. You try this, try that. That does take time. Yes. 2 seconds. Two counts means 1 second. 1 second means 2 counts. If we say 6 counts, it means how many seconds? Huh? 3 seconds. Why did you get scared? Yes. Yeah. No. Yes, Emeka. فحملته. From the beginning, 20 seconds. Well done. جذعي. You see? Yes.
وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا.
Well done.
فكلي واشربي وقري عينا
فإما ترين
من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن
صوما فلن
فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا.
That was very good. Okay, mashallah. Ahmad.
يا أخت هارون ما كان امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا.
من كان. Yes. Make sure, you could pronounce it this way. ما كان. It's not like that. When I say ما كان, my tongue is down. The correct way you pronounce in the ikhfa gets your tongue, the tip of your tongue up a little, slightly. من كان. من كان. Not ما كان. Is that clear? Good. Well done.
قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى بن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه ينفع.
Let's probably pause here by this. Okay, Sam, let's go back to the beginning. Thank you, Ahmed, mashallah, very good. فحملته 22. فحملته قصية. You see the thing about this is so common in the Indian subcontinent pronunciation of Arabic. We said there are 6 letters with إظهار. الهمزة والهاء والعين والحاء والغين والخاء. The hamza and the ha, they come from here. Right? Al-ayn wal-ha, they come from the middle bit of the throat. Al-ghayn wal-kha, they come from here, the top bit of the throat. You find difficulty in pronouncing sometimes, I think Tahmid, you had this one, probably Kaysan as well. Mikal, I don't think you had it. For example, with فحملته, you pronounced the ha as hayn, as ha, as. You said, what did you say, Tahmid? Was it you or Kaysan? You said, as if you were pronouncing the ha, you were actually, the ha as ha. You said فحملته. It's not, the ha comes from here. The ha comes from the middle part of the throat. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا. How do I know the specific area from which a specific letter comes, get an alif or a, and get any letter that you want to pronounce and put it after this a. Is it ha مثلا? You would get to know. Aq. Ak. That's one of the key ways of getting to know how the exact, they call it the emission, the areas from which the letters would come. Agh. There is a difference between, you see, if I say it's quite, and this is very close to the tongue. Agh. They all come from the throat, but they have different levels. Think of it's very easy. Aw, al, aw, an. So for you to know, get an alif, get a hamza, and get this letter with a sukoon on it. There has to be a sukoon on it. A sukoon or shadda. A sukoon or shadda on it. You will naturally get to know. It gets a little bit confusing with those letters. Sometimes you don't really get to differentiate between the top, bottom areas of the throat, but this is it. Get an alif, followed by the letter you want to pronounce. Put a sukoon on it, or put a shadda on it, and you pronounce it properly. You get to know at least. You had a question? Yeah, Kaysan. Yes, that's true. But you can do it. You can get it. When I press you, you do it. Say it again, please. Yeah, here you go. فَحَمَلَتْهُ. That's it. In the beginning, it will take a bit of effort. The more you practice, the more you get it. فَحَمَلَتْهُ. Now, where did you stop? Yeah, okay. Wherever you stop. Well done. واشربي Well done, mashallah, very good exercise. From the sisters' side, who was interested? يا أختة امرأة سوء We have the word imra. Are you guys done with this? We have the word imra. What does it mean? A man. If you want to make it a woman, what do you say? Imra'a. You add to it. What is this? Now, it becomes a reference to woman. So this is a man. Imra. Imra'a, you add just تاء to it. تاء المربوطة. You have other examples in mind? A مذكر, a masculine form that gets changed into a feminine form by adding تاء مربوطة. Very common. أستاذ وأستاذة. You add أستاذ as a teacher. You add تاء, it becomes a female teacher. Okay? We'll come to this in the Quranic Arabic class soon. They say Arabic language was unfair to women in 3 situations, in 3 words. With the word hayy for a man means living. If you add a ta marbuta to it, it becomes hayya. It means snake. Really? No, you say hayy. You can have both. And we have the word musib. For when you say someone is correct, you say musib. When a man is correct, you call the man musib. He's correct. If you add a that, it becomes a musibah. It means a catastrophe, indeed. And then you have the word qadi. Qadi means judge. If you add a that, it becomes qadiyat, a destroyer. Something comes to. By the way, this is not the only way of turning a masculine into a feminine, but it's one of the most, if not the most, common ways of turning a masculine into a feminine form. ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء. Yes. Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yes, you're right. When the third letter has a fatha on it, or a kasra, or dhamma, the first, this hamza, the first one would get pronounced with kasra. Imra'a. Fatha. If the third had a kasra underneath, then you begin with a kasra, with a fatha. Sorry. Yes. آتاني وجعلني Yes, well done. That's a good example of إظهار. مباركا أين. نعم. بالصلاة وبرا بوالدتي. Remember the 4 cases that we've just covered. You need to practice those with your teacher. برا بوالدتي والسلام علي
ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا.
Well done. Well done. Yeah. MashaAllah. Other reciters? From the beginning? مكانا قصيا. فإما يا مريم. Well done. Well done. Other reciters? بغية. جبارا شقيا. Well done. Well done. Any other reciters? That's it. Thank you so much. We've spent too much time on Tajweed today, so apologies about that. But it's good that we get to practice this. Tajweed, yes, some of it is to do with theories, but the most important part of it is the practice. وهذا التطبيق والنظر. The theories of Tajweed are very important. You begin with them, but you learn them so that you may practice. So if you just know the rules but you don't practice, you're very limited use. That's why it is very essential in Tajweed that you read to a teacher, you read to a shaykh, someone who really studied. Otherwise, you don't really get. Sometimes we miss things. Allah. Now,
One last question.
no problem. You're most welcome. Now.
How do you know the specific letters?
Of course, I meant the rest of the letters are ikhfa ones.
Not the same list of letters.
No, I mean, if you exempt the ones of idhar, those are 6 letters. Exactly, and exempt the ones of idgham, these are another 6. Then the one of idgham, the one of aqlab, you have now 13 letters. The rest are ones of ikhfa. Right? Great. This passage introduces to us a very important episode in this story. That is, after Maryam alayhi salam encountered angel Gabriel, she starts to have the the pains of, giving birth to Isa alayhi salam. And after that, she gets to encounter her people in a very difficult situation. Let's translate the verses first, and then we. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا. And so it was ordained. She conceived him. She withdrew to a distant place. And when the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree, to cling to the trunk of a palm tree, she exclaimed, I wish I had been dead and forgotten long before all this. But a voice cried to her from below, do not worry. Your Lord has provided a stream at your feet. Your Lord has provided a stream at your feet. And if you shake the trunk of the palm tree towards you, it will deliver fresh ripe dates for you. So eat, drink, be glad, and say to anyone that you may see, I vowed to the Lord of mercy to abstain from conversation, and I will not talk to anyone today. She went back to her people, carrying the child. And they said, Mary, you have done something terrible. Sister of Aaron, your father was not a man of evil, was not an evil man. Your mother was not unchaste. She pointed at them. They said, how can we converse with an infant? But he said, I am a servant of God. He has granted me the scripture, made me a prophet, made me blessed wherever I may be. He commanded me to pray, to give alms as long as I live, to cherish my mother. He did not make me domineering or graceless. Peace was on me the day I was born, and will be on me the day I die, and the day I am raised to life again. Such was Jesus, son of Mary. This is a statement of the truth about which they are all in doubt. Time for some silent reflection. Again, as normal, share something that you think is very striking, very puzzling, you feel that you had to react to or something. A question if you wish, but I prefer a comment. Time's up. Do you guys have any thoughtful thoughts? Yes.
The first one is it's something that stuck with me from one of your photos. You want to bring it up.
Sure.
But it's the idea that while she's in the pain of childbirth and she's giving birth, Allah almost makes easy for her the means, but doesn't kind of completely take away her involvement. So He doesn't say the fruits will be for you, but you still have to shake the palm tree. Not that she's able to physically shake the palm tree, but just for her to kind of make an effort, and then the results are kind of so that's kind of her input if we want to go.
Absolutely. That's a very important indeed idea of means, the importance of means, something where the Muslim community has largely, unfortunately, been really dwindling for years, probably decades. Go on by the means plus tawakkul. Go by the means first, but also, put tawakkul. They like what the Prophet ﷺ says to the man who came and said, Ya Rasulullah, who came with his camel, أعقلها أم أتوكل? Shall I tie my camel or shall I put my trust in Allah? Just I leave the camel untied. The Prophet said, there is no contradiction. You have to do this and you have to do that. As simple as that. But we often have to choose either this or that. And again, the famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ likens our situation with al-qadr, tawakkul again, how he likens us to the birds. لو أنكم تتوكلون على الله حق توكله لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير. And then we often focus on the first half of the hadith. If you really have trust in Allah, He would have provided for you in the way He provides for birds. And we think this is it. This is what the hadith is saying. If Allah provides for the birds, if we have enough trust in Him, but as much as the birds have, He will provide for us. It becomes more of a faith thing. The Prophet is saying it is not like that. تغدو خماصا وتروح بطانا. They go out, they do some efforts, they don't stay at home. Very obvious stuff, but that sort of either-or mentality is very dangerous. Very dangerous. And it goes both ways. You have people who believe in means. We don't believe in means. We use means. Allah says, use this. I provided for you. I said, فَمْشُوا فِي مَنَاكِبِهَا. Use those means. But don't believe in Allah. Put your conviction in Allah, not in the means. So you have people who believe in means. In the means. We would not ask to believe in the means. We ask to use the means. He actually says, go travel on earth and extract those means. And you have people who have access in the understanding of tawakkul. They think that, we should just disregard the means and we live with tawakkul. As Umar radiallahu anhu said, إِنَّ السَّمَاءَ لَا تُنْفِرُ ذَهَبًا وَلَا فِضَّةً. The skies do not, rain us, gold and silver. You have to work. And when he was, in the year when they had this, the pandemic, which went across the whole world, included Bilad al-Sham. And Umar radiallahu anhu had his ruler over Sham was Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. And Sham was absolutely, plagued with this. And Umar stands at the outskirts of Sham. And he gets told, this is the situation in Sham, you don't have to come. Abu Ubaidah himself was of the view that Umar should come. And he said, هذا قدر. We believe in destiny. If it's destined for you, it's destined for you. If it's written, it's written. Then Umar said, Umar, subhanAllah, was someone who Allah had so many openings for. He said, لو غيرك قالها يا أبا عبيدة. If someone else had said this, as in I would have really been harsh on them. I thought your understanding is more deeper than that. لو غيرك قالها يا أبا عبيدة. I wish someone else had said this. Why? Because it's a very, very faulty statement. And you are the ruler, your understanding has to be much deeper than this. And then he says, بَلْ نَفِرُّ مِنْ قَدَرِ اللَّهِ إِلَىٰ قَدَرِ اللَّهِ. I mean, us going back to Medina, does this mean we are fleeing from Allah's qadr? Allah's qadr is here, Allah's qadr is there. In both places, he's asked us to go by the means, to use the means, but believe in Him. Right? So you have people who have excesses in both. Think of, I think in today's world, unfortunately, we have both access, both types of access, in the sense that when we are asked to have more trust, we actually go by the means. When we're asked to go by the means, we go with trust. As in, think of applying for positions, applying for universities, applying for whatever. You become so attached to that thing, especially after you've worked hard for it. You think, this is mine. Sometimes it feels like Allah, just leave us alone with it. Keep your qadr to you. We're happy to go. Really, it's isn't it? Like sometimes we think this way, and I'm being really honest here. Like sometimes we become so attached to specific things, as if we are telling Allah, just leave us alone. We know this is good for us. It's stupid, honestly stupid. And that's because we literally misplace things. Allah said, use the means, but do not believe in the means. Believe in me. Have trust in me. Have trust, I will facilitate what is better for you. That's the thing. That's the key word. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. We'll facilitate what is better for you, what is good for you. But have trust in us after you've used the means. Many Orientalists, when they visited the Muslim world, towards the late 18th and early 19th century, one common phenomenon they find is literally this very common understanding, misunderstanding actually, of, he says, like I came across many Muslims literally sitting next to mosques, doing nothing, quoting and invoking al-qada wal-qadr. Allah will provide for us. If He means this for us, it will happen. And he actually says, I got bewildered. How could such a cardinal and a basic foundational belief in Islam as al-qada wal-qadr, how could such an element literally transform the early Muslim community and make them the most courageous people on earth? If early Muslims were afraid of the communities, they wouldn't have accepted Islam. They would have said, if I went to Prophet Muhammad, I would have left my family, I would have left this, I would have left that. But because they believed in al-qada wal-qadr, they were so courageous. He says, how could such one single article of belief take people to different conclusions? The problem is not with al-qada wal-qadr, it's your conception of it, your understanding of it. And he says, when I compare, there was an Orientalist who studied early Islam and modern Islam. How could both believe in one concept, the al-qada wal-qadr, a concept that led the early community to become who they were, very courageous, very brave, to another people who are completely laid back, thinking that this is al-qada wal-qadr. Allah, actually, we say that a joke, but it's a real thing. Napoleon, the French, when he came to Egypt, one of his famous arguments, he says, actually, you guys, you believe in al-qada wal-qadr, I am your qada and qadr, just accept me. Right? It was so common that it reached that level. Very basic stuff, but we misplace things. We are asked to use the means, not to believe in the means. This is so practical, so needed. Just need to remind ourselves of this. I thank you for that, Hafiz. Other points? Yes.
I think there are some similarities, with the story of Zakaria and Yahya. And it seems that talking words coming out of the mouth is big to Allah, is something important. So, for example, Zakaria قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس ثلاث ليال سويا.
نعم.
And here with Maryam, فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا. Again,
absolutely.
It seems it's profound.
Very profound, very profound indeed. The power of silence and strengthening one's heart. That is so deep indeed. فلن أكلم إني نذرت يعني ربنا بيقول للسيدة مريم عليه السلام إذا رأيت أحدا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا. If you ever happen to see a human being فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما. Just say I have vowed to fast. You know, as in I'm not talking. I have vowed not to talk. فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا. I'm not talking at all. What does that mean? Silence has a deep power in strengthening our hearts. I'm being reminded of a situation. I think once, you know, my daughter was angry with me, and I just remained silent, even though she was the one angry. I am supposed to go back and say I'm sorry, and I just remained silent. I don't know. I can't remember what the reason was, but because she saw me silent, not engaging, nothing, she came and said, "What did I do wrong? Like, why are you not talking? Yeah, I must have done something that is so terrible that leads you to remain silent." So silence is very powerful, and one of the key ways of disciplining one's soul is just minimizing the amount of talking that we do. Especially, at times of criticism, at times of difficulties, at times when you feel that you are being. Okay, what happens when you are, this happens mostly among his friends, among his families. I mean, it actually happens everywhere. You being critiqued of something, you being accused of something, and you know it is not real. It's a false accusation. What do you do in that situation? The more you talk, literally, the more you lose of your own spiritual strength. And the less you talk is actually the more, the person accusing you or critiquing you will start to believe, there's something wrong with what I'm saying. There's something wrong with, because we can't really, silence is not easy. Like, to remain silent in the face of challenges is not easy. And the Quran is telling Maryam alayhi salam, this is a treatment. Just follow this. You'll be safe with this. Even though this is the time that she needs her tongue the most. Do you realize this? Just one word at least clarified to us. But they also did a very terrible thing as well. There is nothing that they come to her. They come with assumptions already. Right? Even though she had a long history of being not just a good lady, she's been the most devoted, and they know this for a fact. They actually call her Ya Ukhta Harun. How could this come from you? When they know, her history should tell you guys. Where is Husnul Dhan? Having good opinions, good assumptions about a lady that you've seen nothing wrong coming from her side.
And also, and it's only because of her silence that the miracle happens.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, just, I will do everything for you, but just be the person I want you to be. Isa will intervene at a very specific time, but just you need to work on yourself. You need to work on yourself. Otherwise, the communities where we live, they definitely need to be better communities. We ourselves, like when a certain situation, you should assume the best about your friend, about your mother, about your father, about your partner, whatever. Good assumption is one of the key foundations of the Muslim community. That's the first thing that, can you imagine the Prophet's wife? Inshallah, we'll come to Surah An-Nur. Hadith al-Ifk, when the Prophet's wife was accused of immortality, having committed adultery. That's a big thing. That is a big thing. Even though the Prophet ﷺ, when Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet ﷺ, what was the most difficult day you've had since you became a Prophet? He identified the day of Ta'if, when he went to Ta'if. He says this was a really difficult day. That's why he made that beautiful dua. And he actually detailed. Imagine this after like good 7-10 years or something. And he literally narrates very detailed. It's very vivid in his memory that he knows the exact details, even though years have passed. And the Prophet was not like he didn't have much free time. Like he's had so many things happening in his life. Like after those events, this event was mesmerized in his mind. And Aisha said رضي الله عنها, ما أشد ما لقيت من قومك. What was the most difficult thing that you had from your people? He said صلى الله عليه وسلم, كان أشد ما لقيت منهم يوم العقبة إذ عرضت نفسي على ابن عبد يالي ابن عبد كلال. He names one of the people who admitted in Taif. فلم يجبني إلى ما أردت فانطلقت وأنا مهموم على وجهي. I walked and you could see that depression is on my face. فلم أستفق إلا وأنا بقرن الثعالب. Like I only became conscious in a place called قرن الثعالب. Like imagine the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, walking unstable. He doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think we reflect much on this. Right? That Jibreel alayhi salam comes to say, Allah is telling me, whatever you ask me to do, I will do for you. Right? And he says, no, I haven't reached that level. I wouldn't make dua against my people. But he takes this as the most difficult moment that he had. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I trust and I believe this was before Hadith al-Ifk. My conviction that this was before Hadith al-Ifk. Perhaps if the Prophet got asked after Hadith al-Ifk, he would have probably added this. He would have probably chosen Hadith al-Ifk as the most difficult moment that he had. Why? Simply because he's become the leader of the Medinan community. A very diverse community that had Jews, that had non-Muslims, Muslims to whom he is the role model. And the Muslim community was not of the same level. You have people who have deep faith and others who don't have deep faith. So there were people who believed that Aisha did this. So think of not just he's not just a religious leader, he is a prophet. And his wife, the most beloved wife to him, gets accused of this. And the Quran comforts the Prophet ﷺ, and they had almost like 29 days. Up to 29 days. As far as you remember. When the Quran is silent, the Prophet does not receive anything. Aisha is just saying, I haven't done anything. And she knows, she says I know for a fact that if I say to you it didn't happen, you wouldn't believe me, it's gone away. The rumor has gone. And this is because Medina has a lot of hypocrites. We need to really study the Medina community again, because we tend to think of Medina as like the ideal city, as like we think of the Platonic understanding of a republic, as in Medina al-Fadl, the people were peaceful, happy. It wasn't like that. Probably the biggest segment of Medina, the Medina community, after the Prophet was the Munafiqun. When the Quran speaks in Surah Al-Baqarah begins with 3 types of people, the Al-Kuffar, wal-Mu'minun. 1 or 2 verses for the Mu'minun, 1 or 2 verses for the Kafirun, and then 13 verses on the Munafiqun. The people who say we believe but they don't. Right? These were the people who lived with the Prophet ﷺ. For the Quran to begin with them, these were the people that gave the Prophet ﷺ the most difficult time. And then when Hadith al-Ifk, when the Quran intervenes to clarify things, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ جَاءُوا بِالْإِفْكِ عُصْبَةٌ مِّنكُمْ لَا تَحْسَبُوهُ شَرًّا لَكُمْ. Allah tells the Prophet ﷺ, forget about the challenges, the immediate challenges that you've had. This is for the benefit of your community. This is for the education of this community. لَا تَحْسَبُوهُ شَرًّا لَكُمْ بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. People, these difficult times, they educate the people, they discipline the people. Otherwise, without those disciplining measures, they wouldn't be taught. Theories alone, they help, but they need to be merged with real events. But the first thing the Quran does about educating this community is husnul qalb. لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. If only they had good assumptions of one another. Actually, it says لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا. If only they had good assumptions of themselves, good opinions of themselves. And the Quran says of themselves. What does that mean? You would expect the Quran to be saying, if only they had good assumptions about other Muslim sisters, other Muslim brothers, right? The Quran is not saying that. The Quran is saying good assumptions about themselves. This can be understood in two ways. One way is the Quran looks at the Muslim community as one community, all those individuals as one individual. So if I'm accusing you, I'm accusing myself. Right? Because we are one body. The Prophet ﷺ can just do واحد. They are like one body. So you can understand it in this way, but you can also understand it in another way. That is, if I am accusing someone of something, that naturally means it reflects who I am, not who the person is. Literally. So if I'm saying, Mika did this, and I really believe the rumor that has gone, it literally just reflects me. It reflects, but if I'm a good person, I would say, no, I wouldn't. I've really interacted with this man. I know that he would never do this. Because of who I am in the first place. Not just who is. Absolutely. Indeed. That is exactly. Indeed. Thank you for reminding me of this. إذا ساء فعل المرء ساء الظنون. متنبي, the great Arab poet. He says, إذا ساء فعل المرء ساء الظنون. When your actions are evil ones, your assumptions will equally become evil. وصدق ما يعتاده من توهم. And then the doubts that you have will turn, will naturally be shifted into certainties. It all begins with assumptions and suspicions, and then naturally, it's a very bit too far point. But see, the whole point is فكرة the paradox here. يا أخت هارون, oh sister of Harun. Now that's a good recognition of her. Actually, they are condemning themselves in this case. Like, you remember who she is. Shouldn't this remind you of her situation and her character and that? ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء. Your father was a good man. Your mom as well. Why did you do that? And Allah is asking Maryam, just remain silent. The power of silence. A very powerful thing. We go crazy when someone accuses us of something. I need to clarify, not just to clarify, I need to kill, not to clarify. But it also reflects that we are superficial people, literally. Because if you are someone who, if you are God-centered, you wouldn't really be bothered what someone had said about you, what this man had said, what this, nothing. Like, if I am, Yusuf alayhi salam reminds us of this. When we've covered this when we were in Surah Yusuf. When his two friends were imprisoned and they got released before him, and they know how good he was. And he said to them, if only you remind the king of who I am. Right? What does the verse say? وَقَالَ اذْكُرْنِي عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. Mention me to your Lord, to your master. Then the Quran says, فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. Surah Yusuf, and among the scholars of tafsir, it's called Surah al-Dama'ir. That chapter of pronouns. Why? Because the most difficult thing about Surah Yusuf is the references of those. What does it refer to? It says فَأَنْشَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. It could refer to the guy in prison, as if the shaitan made him forget to mention that to his Lord, to his master. Right? فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ. That could also mean the shaitan made Yusuf forget that Allah is there. Why should I ask a human being to intercede and find me a way out? I am more likely to believe that. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. He stayed in prison for a good couple of years, 7 years, commentators say. Yusuf alayhi salam immediately realizes this. Literally, if you read the story in the Bible, it says seconds after he said that, he started weeping. He says, if Allah is a witness over me, why should I be bothered about what the king thinks of me? Allah will intervene in the right time, in the right place. That's it. Otherwise, people's hearts are very clumsy and very volatile and they change. That's the key definition of a human being. That's why one of the Prophet's consistent prayers, Ya muqallib al-qulubi thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Or the one who really fixes and strengthens, stabilizes people's hearts. Fix my heart. Make it consistently devoted to you. Why? Because our hearts are naturally changing, consistently changing. Actually, al-qalb is called qalb. It is constantly changing, constantly shifting. Arabic language is very one of the classical Orientalists, when he goes to study Arabic, he said, actually, I realize it's one of the most artificial languages. Artificial in the sense that when you come to decline those verbs, they often mean very close things. Think of qalb. What does qalb mean? Qalb refers to the heart that we have. This heart always changes. We have this sort of human restlessness. It means qalb changes. If you, with a bit of declension, it could also mean qabila, it accepts things. Right? If you, with a bit of change into the word, normally when you do this with Arabic words, you will end up with so many meanings that are relevant to the subject you're talking about. Think of aql, mind. What do we do with our minds? Our minds really restrain us. They control us. They can give you some good restraints. Right? From it comes iqal. The tie with which you tie the camel, so that the camel does not really break away, does not run away. Aqala. Your mind controls you, ties you, and makes you a wise person. Otherwise, if you act and react haphazardly, there is no aql there. That's the beauty of the Arabic language, which is very unique and noted. If I ask you to, I don't know, decline the word run in English, what does it do with running? That led so many scholars to say that the Arabic language is divine in its origin. There are two theories when it comes to languages. One, whether languages are divine or human-made. Right? There is a very good case to be made that the Arabic language is a divine language because of these phenomena. Literally, you check the changes that happen to the roots of the verbs, and really absolutely stunning. Yeah. So, what was the initial point? Silence. Exactly, the power of silence. We really need to work on this. Just try. Try when you are being critiqued, when you are being accused, when you are being whatever. Try to remain silent. The amount of emotional strength you would get out of this is unbelievable. Not just that, but also Maryam alayhi salam teaches us the power of solitude, the power of isolation. First of all, the story begins with her إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا. The Quran repeats the same word again. فحملته فانتبذت به. In the beginning it says واذكر مريم إذ انتبذت, when she isolated herself. And then again, it says, فَحَمَلَتْ when she conceived. Isa alayhi salam, she does the same thing, she just leaves them. The power of solitude, the very same thing. In solitude, there is power. There are people who can't live without being in the company of other people. They can't. Solitude gives you power. I'm not saying, leave the people and live on your own. No, this religion is a religion of balance. But there must be a daily part of your day that is dedicated to solitude. I am on my own. I need to recharge my battery, my emotional, my spiritual battery. And it gives you a chance to literally measure things and give things that you measure. In the sense that because we become so attached, because we become too mixed, what happens is they become too attached to everything. I can't leave this, I can't lose this, I can't lose that. Right? I've seen so many people like that. I myself have become this person. So there must be, in the Islamic spiritual tradition, they speak of the phenomena of takathur. What is the phenomena of takathur? That is striving for more. Alhaakumut takathur. Allah is telling us that your life has been wasted and you strive for more. How do we get this fixed? The only way you can do this is to literally contradict this at-takathur by at-taqleel. The maximalization by the minimalization. And they speak of 4 types of minimalizations as a basic rule for anyone who wants to establish a good relationship with Allah, to live a good spiritual experience. Taqleel al-ta'am, to minimize your intake of food. Right? Fasting in Ramadan is meant to do that. Prophet's recommendation to fast a few days a week is literally meant to do that. That is taqleel al-ta'am. Taqleel al-anam, that you minimize your interaction with people. I'm not saying eliminate it, just, know that there is an upper limit to it, 2 hours per day or something. But your time should not be always with people. That's really dangerous. It just cheapens your personality. Okay? So we have taqleel al-ta'am, taqleel al-anam, taqleel al-kalam, to minimize your speech, your talking, as much as you can. Even if I've been talking for 2 hours. تقليل الكلام وتقليل المنام, indeed. That you minimize your sleeping. If you sleep for, 8, 9 hours or so, when should you study, when should you work, when should you... imagine yourself sleeping for 1/3 of your life. Most people would live, like if you... 8 hours per day means 1/3 of your life. As basic as that. Just do the math. 8, 16, 24. Right? So it's a very serious thing. So taqleel al-ta'am, minimizing food minimalization. Taqleel al-anam, people minimalization. You get what I mean? Networking and that. Taqleel al-kalam, speech minimalization, talking minimalization. And the last one is taqleel al-manam, minimalizing the amount of talking. These are really some of the roots of our emptiness. So Maryam alayhi salam is teaching us this. What she's doing, she is minimizing people. She is minimizing speech. And I wouldn't imagine her like sleeping for 9 hours a day or something in the midst of this. So she teaches us taqleel al-ta'am, taqleel al-anam, taqleel al-kalam. She just have a couple of dates maybe. Wa taqleel al-manam. Maryam is a massive woman. mean, many Muslim scholars believe that Maryam is the most pure lady that the world has known. And there is a really good case to be made in the Quran. قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. That's 2 times the Quran is telling Maryam, Allah has chose you, purified you, chose you again. يا قنوتي لربك واسجدي واركعي مع الراكعين. It doesn't, you can't think of a better person. So the power of silence is a big one. The power of solitude. And I'm glad that we remembered this, as in those types of minimalization, as a good way of educating ourselves. So if you're really after some good mental, emotional strength, don't talk much. And as I said, much of this tradition is about balance. Being in complete isolation is no good either. Not eating at all is no good either. Somewhere in the middle is good. But for you to become in the middle, you need some strength. As in, because people would normally, naturally go to the maximalization. They wouldn't normally go to the minimalization, except in rare cases. We do have rare cases. But in vast majority of people would tend to go to maximalization, because it's a human thing in us. So when I come to train and discipline myself, you get a discipline by going to the minimalization, so that you may arrive at the middle, if that makes sense. So Maryam alayhi salam has a lot to teach us. Let's do this. Now.
The idea that Maryam does not only wish that she was dead, but also that she's like a forgotten, like a forgotten.
Absolutely.
Almost to me, it kind of exaggerates the pain because it's almost more loss when you die, but then you die without anyone remembering you or not even leaving an impact. I feel like that's a way of really exaggerating the pain. I wish I didn't even have an impact or any kind of remembrance.
Thank you so much. It's another beautiful thing. She's not only saying, and I wish I was dead. Might be dead, but you have a bad legacy behind you. But she's saying, I wish I was not even, I'm not just dead, but they forget about me. She realizes that, and you could see the impact of this. Like Maryam alayhi salam she's been a big figure in her community before this. Like they know who she is, and she knows the gravity of the situation. That what led her to say that is a big thing. She's not a nobody. She is someone who has a reputation that she would want to preserve. Right? And yes, this did not prevent him from accusing her as a natural human thing, unfortunately. Human community, something like that. إِلَّا مِنْ رَحْمَ رَبِّي. That's why the Quran is important. We have so many surahs in the Quran that reminds us who we are as to this, those community ethics. Because what they have done to Maryam alayhi salam is a big thing. Islamically, they would be penalized. Haddul Qadf. You're accusing someone. Right? These are big things in Islam. And today, people, one of the key areas in Islam, in the Muslim, Muslims often get pressurized to explain the hudud, the penalties. I mean, we can discuss those maybe in a separate discussion. But when you look at the Quran has those codes literally to preserve us, to protect us against each other. Because if you don't have that penalty for accusation, what happens? Everyone can say whatever they want to say. But if I know that if I talk about someone or something, there are consequences to this. In this world, before the hereafter, you would get your mouth zapped. And that's, this is the context where the penalty what is the word? The penalty for accusation, Haddul Qadh, gets intervened, or gets legislated in Surah An-Nur. The context is Aisha. You know, that guy who started the whole thing, Musaylama. Musaylama, صح? Musaylama. Sorry, Abdullah ibn Salul. Right? He knows there are no consequences. It's just a word, I would say. No punishment, no consequences. Of course, I mean, that penalty is in this context. It was legislated because of a similar situation. So this is simply because of that, to really put limits. Otherwise, people can just say whatever you want to say. And the same thing with adultery. All it takes is someone saying, you know, I have seen this lady doing this, I've seen that man doing that. That's all it takes. Allah says, no, it's not that easy. You will be taken for this word. And this, you know, this lady in the Prophet's time, who comes, and she was on the verge of being penalized. You know, there is time is very limited to explain this. She has to take 4 vows or 4 oaths that she hadn't committed anything. She actually kept saying, she kept confirming, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. She came to the 4th time that if she made that 4th oath, she's gonna be penalized for that. Then in the fourth oath that she gets to make it, like to make an oath, I haven't committed this. She is confirming that I have committed it. She made 3. She came to the 4th, and she said, "Wallahi la aftahu qawmi sa'ir al-yawm." If I confirm this now, my entire tribe will be scandalized for this until the day of judgment. You know, you are the tribe of the lady who committed this. You are the tribe of the lady who committed that. She said, "No, I haven't committed anything." In the fourth time. And guess what? Who got penalized? The accused. Right? So those codes were there for us. Now they get used against us. I understand where this is coming from. And like I said, I mean, I have more to say on the whole subject, but I'm just giving you the philosophy of it. Why do we have those codes? It's for our own benefit, in the sense that, again, I'm repeating this because I can say much more on this. And the whole subject of codes and this and that is a very particular subject that needs to be unpacked by the Muslim community today. People need to understand this properly and to understand its context. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is the philosophy of it. Unfortunately, today Muslims have, even the Muslims who apply this, we've seen a couple of videos here and there. This is shameful. To me, this is nothing to do with Islam. Islam being implemented today in this way, no, of course, that's not us. As basic as that. But understanding the philosophy of it is very important. This is there to protect us, because we can be very nasty. We literally can be very nasty. Very important. Those things come to really put restraints to us. And Maryam, I don't think we reflect on Maryam's case much. Again, Maryam, a lady of, I don't think they have seen nothing. I mean, they have seen nothing wrong from Maryam. Literally nothing at all. And you've wiped out her whole history in a blink of an eye. Really? Is that a good community? No. That's why they needed Christianity. The Jewish community needed a prophet that reminds them of the whole idea of what, we believe in. Why does Christianity keep its reform Judaism? Why did Islam keep its reform Christianity? That's why we have the Abrahamic tradition. Each one of them, they come to reform the other. So they needed someone to reform, to tell them, it should not happen this way. we shouldn't become like formalistic people. Just we need to apply this, we need to apply that. No, religion has much more to it than just mere the formal aspects of it. It's very deep. And again, Maryam knows this. Indeed. May we benefit from this. May we start to reflect on ourselves, and we may really apply this in our lives. Yeah. Other points? We have 10 minutes.
It's really interesting that Sayyida Maryam said that when she was in so much pain by giving birth, to remember such thing like what will happen next. So when they see the her son, yeah, emphasize also how it was it?
So you're saying that in the sometimes, especially when it comes to physical pain, when you have a physical pain, you forget about everything. Think of yourself when you have a headache. If the whole world is accusing you of bribery, I need to get rid of my headache. Maryam alayhi salam, she is of course going through the pains of these are very difficult moments. She is still reflecting on what is going to happen. Yes, indeed. That's a very big thing. Thank you for that. Yes, Ethan.
In that same verse, it just shows, her human nature. Although she had like miraculous birth, like she still had that human thing of having to go back in isolation, having to deal with all of this by herself. But then at the same time, Allah is that she still has that.
Beautiful. Again, Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali, another giant of the Muslim tradition, died in 1996. He used to say, Sunanullahi la tarhamu ahada. Allah's universal laws are ruthless. No exceptions. Yes, she's going to be supported, but she will have to go through this. Yes, Prophet Muhammad will be supported, but he will have to go through this. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Other points. So we had so many beautiful insights. In the Islamic tradition today, an established principle says, "Al-muttahamu bari'un hatta tathbuta idanatuhu." The accused person is presumed innocent until they are proven guilty. We literally do the opposite. If somebody is accused of something, it becomes until he proves how much we've gone far from the guidance of this book. And sometimes actually it doesn't go away, like as in, yes, indeed, the damage is done. And that's why it took in Hadith al-Ifk. Aisha herself is saying, I did not expect the Quran to be talking about me in roughly 10 to 15 verses. She said, وَلَا أَنَا أَحْقَرُ فِي نَظَرِي وَلَا أَنَا أَحْقَرُ فِي عَيْنِي مِنْ أَنْ يُنزَلَ بِالْقُرْآنِ فِي شَأْنِي. To my mind, I've never thought I would be that important to Allah. All I thought the Prophet would see a vision, maybe, that I'm innocent. And then he goes out in the Masjid. I have seen a vision. Actually, this is it's a very serious thing. Like the Prophet is coming out and saying, I've seen a vision, Aisha is innocent. They trust the Prophet, they trust his visions, they have implemented so many plans based on his vision. They have come all the way from Medina to Mecca for Umrah based on his vision. So they took his vision very seriously. He could have done the same thing with Aisha. But because he's truthful, As-Sadiq al-Amin, he stayed for almost a month. And the hadith is a very lengthy hadith in Bukhari. Maybe inshallah we can read it at some point when we come to Surah An-Nur. Aisha said, I didn't know. I never expected myself to be exonerated in this way. I thought it would be just a simple vision that he gets. Maybe a certain conviction that Allah throws in his heart. But to Allah to literally immortalize my mention in the Quran, that's a very big thing. But again, look at it from the other perspective, for Allah to intervene and to say, it takes a big event for the Quran to speak. And this is a big event. That's why the Quran spoke. That is to say, with those like things to do with accusations, with this and that, really be careful. Be careful. Restrain your tongue, restrain your thoughts, not just your tongue. The Quran begins with thoughts. Honestly, when I reflect on this, I find myself included, like we are absolutely undermined. How do we resist those evil thoughts that come to our mind? Sometimes when you just reflect on yourself, how bad we are. When the Sahaba, in this verse of Surah Maryam, Surah Al-Baqarah, was revealed, وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبْكُم بِهِ اللَّهُ. Whether you reveal what you have in yourself, or you conceal, Allah will take you to account for it. فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيُعَذِّبُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. The Sahaba got absolutely astonished and shocked. And we know ourselves. That's why they worked on themselves. We need to work on ourselves. That's why the beautiful dua by them in Surah Al-Baqarah, it comes in response to this. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا لا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا لا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا اغفر لنا ارحمنا. It's in response to this big responsibility, a responsibility for your thoughts. No, just absolutely. There is a hadith that says otherwise. I know this. The hadith in Bukhari says, إن الله تجاوز لي عن أمتي ما وسوست به صدورها ما لم تعمل به أو تتكلم. Allah had forgiven for me the sins of my ummah, those that are the sins of in terms of thinking, unless they speak about it or they put it into action. But this hadith had a very limited context to it and should not be taken as the dominant understanding of this. Otherwise, that's the only way you can. That's why dhann is a big thing in Islam. You can't have a good view of someone without having good thoughts yourself. So I think people quote this hadith in the wrong place, in the wrong context. So you are held accountable for your thoughts, let alone your talking, let alone your action. This religion is not easy on the self. Like, it asks you to really be careful with. And if you're being honest, thoughts are more dangerous than words. You only have words because you have thoughts. They always say, be careful with your thoughts because they turn into words. Be careful with your words because they turn into action. And every action has a consequence to it. So it all begins with thoughts. So I can't never imagine the Quran tolerating bad thoughts. No way. But the Quran is saying this, Allah, just make it. We know that we're going to be making mistakes. So please forgive us. لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا. We'll do our best. Just realize this. But today, we don't really appreciate that. Very dangerous things, yeah. Maybe in a different discussion. It's Aisha time. Because there are other hadiths that contradict this. And there are many Quranic verses that say, Su'u dhann is a big thing. And you can't have husn dhan without having bad salat. So it's just, you have to understand the philosophy of the Quran. So one single hadith can't come to undermine all this. As that makes sense here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك.
مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة